I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but Robert's Rebellion is in almost every way more impressive than Aegon's Conquest.
I don't know if you were looking for some kind of a debate or pushback from me on this, Don Boy, but I completely agree. I think that Robert is a Giga Chad compared to Aegon in every way. And dude, the culture surrounding Aegon the Conqueror, man. I don't understand why he's looked at like such a Giga Chad. Like this whole Henry Cavill casting. If Henry Cavill was cast as Aegon the Conqueror, I would actually be very disappointed because he's not this guy who drops his nutsack onto the battlefield and it makes a crater in the ground before he even lands his feet there, like how Robert was. You know what I'm saying? Like all Aegon was, and we'll go into it here, obviously. Aegon rode his little shitty boat across the narrow sea with a pathetic little army at his back and whipped out his action replay and plugged it into his Game Boy of Westeros and dominated him with his nuclear arsenal of dragons. That's all he did.
Yeah, he definitely using a Game Shark when he's conquering the Seven Kingdoms here, because 3 dragons, he's playing on cheat codes basically, like infinite ammo, God mode, whatever you want to say, or
dude,
God
like
mode on
low
Minecraft.
low gravity, whatever. Anybody who played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 back in the day, let us know in the comments, dude. Watch me explode.
Almost every aspect you compare Aegon to Robert. Robert is better, but for some reason, maybe because we're just like in this period of time when it comes to Robert, and maybe years, like 300 years from now, you'll look at him as you'll look kindly on Robert versus, like Aegon. And maybe at his time, people are kind of like, yeah, I don't know about this guy. He made me bend the knee because he has a freaking dragon, but I'm not a big fan of this guy. Because Robert, they call a usurper all the time, even though Robert, every measurement is better than Aegon. Like, well, let's just first go with feats of strength. What does Aegon do? Again, he just has a dragon. Every one of his major victories is due to a dragon. The Harrenhal, right? This impenetrable fortress. He just decides, it'd be a shame if someone just freaking melts your castle, dude. If you didn't have a dragon, he'd been screwed, right?
Oh yeah, dude, he would. He'd be completely screwed. Harren the Black or whatever his name is. It's such an impressive castle, and it's such a waste. I'm kind of salty at Aegon the Conqueror for wrecking this giant monument. Yeah, pour one out for our boy. Like, he's a Giga Chad too. Like, built a massive wall, made the surrounding areas pay for it. I mean, what does that sound like, right? Chad move. But I think that everything Aegon did was unimpressive by comparison. You just brought up the whole thing where at every battle he used his dragons. Like, what battle was it where all the vegetation, was it in the Reach? All the vegetation was dried out from the lack of rain. I think there was a drought.
Field of Fire, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just compare that to whichever one of the big, in my opinion, the big 2 you want. Either Robert at Summerhall, where he defeated 3 Stormlords in the same day, 3 battles, and he's on the ground. He's leading his army. Or you could say the Trident as well, where there's literally 2 armies, where there's tens of thousands of men at each other's backs. Robert somehow singles out Rhaegar in the crowd and wins the battle. Dude, like this battle-hardened jousting champion, second only to probably Barristan in the era of Robert's Rebellion, right? So I don't know. I think it's a total it's a wash, man, in Robert's favor.
Yeah, and plus, what is Robert holding? It's not this nice Valyrian steel sword. He has this warhammer that no one else can really lift or even wield. So him using his weapon is a feat of strength. And Aegon is just like, I'm going to fly my dragon and burn all of these crops around and take out this whole army that House Gardner and Lannisters team up for the Field of Fire, and they march on to Aegon's forces. Oh, I didn't see this dry vegetation. Damn, they really got me on that one. What a feat of strength. And the last storm too. Durrandon. Is it Durrandon? House Durrandon?
I think it's Durrandon. Yeah, the old Stormlords.
Yeah, the old Stormlord that the Baratheons take over, right? But they march, the last storm, this battle, they march on to, I think it's one of his sisters. I'm trying to remember the sister's name that he's marching on to, right? But again, the only reason why they destroy him is because of the dragon right at the end. Even though it was raining, that the dragon couldn't take flight, it basically just waiting down there, and as soon as they broke through, the dragon was able to light them on fire, blow fire at them. So again, just another cheat code, which is that's unimpressive.
That spells to me like a lack of strategy too, because I've seen this, that people, one, they portray Aegon as a Chad in general, but they talk about his great strategy and the way he conquered Westeros. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if anybody remembers the number specifically, but I want to say Aegon only had 3,000 men at his back when he started his conquest, and obviously it grew because he conquered places. But the common idea is that he only had 3,000 men, and he's able to conquer entire swaths, entire kingdoms of Westeros? Like, that's crazy, dude. It's like, no, it's not crazy. All he did is send down his fire-breathing, schlong down there to get the job done. Like, after he beats all the southern territories too, excluding Dorne, he hears that the North is like gearing up for battle, and we all know the North, they kind of have nothing to lose when it comes to their armies most of the time. They're like, it's winter up there all the time. They have a ton of criminals that are just kind of leaving to die. It's one less mouth to feed up there in the North. So the men are basically going willing to die. They have a death wish, so they're going to fight harder than any other knight, probably, even if they're not as skilled. And he hears that army's about to be deployed. Aegon hears that army's about to come down and fuck him up, or try to. And so Aegon hastily has to say, like, oh shit, okay, I forgot about those guys. Let me quick bring my dragon over there to fuck them up. And luckily, I forget, what's the name of the Stark up there at the time? It starts with a T, I think.
Torrhen?
Yeah, Torrhen Stark was actually an intelligent individual at this time, where he like saw the writing on the wall, and he decided to kneel to Aegon without having all of his men die in Dragonfire, because that's obviously what's going to happen. So I guess you could say that maybe the rest of Westeros was even worse than Aegon at all of this stuff, strategizing and whatnot, because they kept on going at this guy with traditional warfare. Again, excluding Dorne, they were smart. But the rest of Westeros just kept on trying this thing. They're watching every region fail. And I'm pretty sure the Lannister Gardner duo was like one of the final ones to fall. So, and to me at least, the impression that I get from those two houses is that they're intelligent. They have like a huge fortified area that they're defending. You'd think they wouldn't make the stupid mistake of going into an open field with super dry vegetation. I don't know. It seems weird. The ordering of that is strange. I just got off the phone with George R.R. Martin, and I was talking to him about this. And I told him, and he said he'll consider retconning that in the future. So
good. I need to speak to him about something else too. So
okay, well, you got his number, so.
Yeah. So another reason why it's not impressive, Aegon's versus Robert's very impressive rebellion, is, like you said earlier, his banner lords, his storm lords he fights. No, not everyone wanted to, join Robert's cause when they started calling the banners. Like Jon Arryn and Ned both are like, all right, we're going to war. And people are like, you know what? I don't know if I feel like going to war against this psychopath mad king, Like even, who's his name? The late Walder Frey, right? The whole reason why he didn't join is because he didn't know which way this thing was going to turn out. And a lot of people didn't join it, I guess, too, because who's his name? The Greyjoys, they didn't join until late.
The Lannisters, I don't think, were in the heat of it.
The Lannisters, right? And Catelyn's dad, Hoster Tully, like, he gets the North and, House Arryn bent over a barrel, like Walder Frey. And he's like, yeah, actually, you guys are both going to have to marry my daughters if you want me to join the fight. For him to join Robert's cause. And also, Robert's cause is what? Okay, some psychopath's son stole my wife to be, right? Now I want to go to war. Aegon's is what? I have a dream. We need to unite the Seven Kingdoms to fight some sort of threat potentially coming. And this is all retcon now because of House of the Dragon. But before that, he's just a warlord. He's no different than the Dothraki. They're just coming into...
no, absolutely.
Conquer everything.
And this is something I like to think about too a lot of the time, or I like to inform people of, which is that the Targaryens are kind of looked at as these gods among men in a certain way, and like, oh, dude, like they're like the cornerstone of Old Valyria survives. Like, no, dude, the Targaryens were not even a prominent house in Old Valyria. They were the shitsters, and yeah, the Valerians were the real shitsters because they were like. They didn't even have a place over in Old Valyria, so they went off to Driftmark like hundreds of years before the Targaryens even arrived. But it's the same with the Targaryens. They couldn't pave any real power in Old Valyria, so they just decided to go somewhere else, and that's the only reason they survived. It's not like they made it out of there by the skin of their teeth. So the Targaryens are just kind of like not victims of circumstance, but like the opposite. What would you say? They're like the
preppers that bet right.
I guess, yeah. Whatever the opposite of a victim of circumstances. It's the opposite of that. They don't have anything impressive in their lore either. Aegon is a random dude who just happened to be born in. He's like a trust fund baby, right? Like he's just happened to be born with like the family tradition of wielding dragons, of which there's only 3 left. Well, likely only 3 left.
Yeah, I don't. The Targaryens weren't. I think they were a noble house. I don't know how powerful they were, but they weren't as powerful. They weren't like a top house. They wouldn't be like a warden, like the Starks are. Like the equivalent of a Stark over in Valyria. Anyways,
it's like a Mormont or something. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah, right. And also now they're like the Lords of the Seven Kingdoms over here. What a step down, playing on easy mode over here in Westeros. But yeah, the motivations for both fights, you have to side with Robert. Is for love and revenge versus Aegon just is like, yeah, I have OCD and I really wish all these 7 kingdoms were underneath one throne. There's just too many kings. I don't like it.
Oh, yeah. Dude, let's centralize all this power. That always works out super well. But not even just the revenge for the Lyanna thing. And Lyanna's a bitch, by the way, so we don't support Robert when it gets down to the specifics. But from a macro view, it's like, oh, dude, yeah, like, dude, this guy stole your girl? Like, absolutely. But not only that, dude, Ned Stark, like, his boy, Robert and Ned were boys. They were both wards or basically adopted sons of Jon Arryn for their whole lives. And the Mad King, dude, brutalizes Ned's family in some of the worst ways ever. Yeah. So, dude, like, Don Boy, if I hear that happens to your dad and brother, man, I'm going to be like, all right, dude, we got to fuck some people up because that's unacceptable.
Yeah,
like the Mad King's got to go. His son's got to go ASAP.
Yeah, you got to go down there. And then even hearing that, some of the Banner Lords on both or all 3 of the houses that were, rallying to go against the Mad King, yeah, again, they were hesitant. So it wasn't like, oh, yeah, everyone in the north was on board with going down south. They were kind of like, or over in the air. Because, like, I think the first battle was in Goldtown over in the Vale that they had to fight basically to get Ned up north so that way he could even call his banners to begin with. Okay, another aspect I want to compare them to, their drip. Aegon, by the end of it, he has his like the Conqueror's crown that we get to see in House of the Dragon, but in the books it's like this very minimalist, iron crown with these red rubies, almost. Right? So what else does he have? Maybe dragon armor? Dude, Robert has an awesome antler helmet with a warhammer. Like, just the aesthetics of him alone makes you go, oh. And his name, he's like the demon of the Triton. What a fucking badass name.
Yeah, other than unbelievably cool.
The Conqueror. Oh, me and my dragon.
Yeah, no, exactly. Dude, Ned, I think, even describes him in the novels as a horned god or like an antlered god on the battlefield, like towering on his horse above everybody else. This dude's 6'6". This dude is absolutely massive. He has a giant hammer. Honestly, it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody has seen the Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. There's that unreleased scene of Sauron appearing on the battlefield to fight Aragorn. And it's like kind of cheesy or whatever, but Sauron's still towering over the rest of those people. It's kind of like how the Mountain would be, I guess, right? But in this era, it'd be Robert. That's how I see this guy. He could take that warhammer, one hand, and just give it a great swing around and you'd see enemies flying, flailing in one direction or another. Yeah, dude, it's amazing. This guy, he's so superior in terms of strategy, in my opinion, in battle, in motivation, like you said, in drip. And you know what, too? When we talk about their reigns as king, I understand this is probably where people are going to say Robert falls short, right? Because he kind of loses his lust for life after the war is done. I think that's kind of the general consensus, right? Like, he kind of lived for the battle, or at least for Lyanna, too. I'm sure that plays a big part now that his love of his life's dead and the battle's done. He kind of just submits into becoming a fat slob. But I don't know. Like, I think his reign was at least comparably peaceful to Aegon the Conqueror's. And a lot of the conflict that happened under Robert's reign was because of the fucking Lannisters. It wasn't even because of him at all. I don't think he really made a mistake whatsoever. How is he supposed to know that his wife got an abortion with, when he impregnated her? Like, it's not his fault.
Well, you have Balon's rebellion, right, which is so pathetic. I hate Balon. Let us know in the comments what you think about Balon Greyjoy. Literally the worst person, I think, in all of A Song of Ice and Fire, strategically and aesthetically. But yeah, I agree. We're not even talking about their reigns, because I think you can go down rabbit holes because Aegon has 2 sons that cause some sort of like almost internal civil war that occurs, right? With Maegor taking over the throne, and then, Maegor has to get overthrown for Jaehaerys to come in there. So there's not a lot of stability coming from Aegon's reign, right? Moving forward, even just like 1 or 2 generations down. So yeah, they're both kind of like iffy on that end, but just focusing on their conquest itself and maybe just their general personalities, right? What friends does Aegon have? He has 2 sisters and his like bastard brother that was the first Baratheon. He doesn't really have friends, and he's marrying his sister. Nowhere in the Targaryen tradition is you have to marry all your sisters if you have sisters. You can just marry one sister, and you could have left Visenya or whichever one.
Visenya was like the older, harder sister, and then
he could have left Visenya off because he married her out of duty, and then he married Rhaenys out of love. It's like, dude, no. just marry Rhaenys and just let Visenya go wherever. You don't need to marry both of them. That's I don't know.
He's kind of a simp for the sisters in a way. And listen, if you're a man in any way, like I don't care what your profession is, if you have no male friends, huge red flag, giant red flag. And if you have female friends, as well as having no male friend, that's like, I don't know if there's a flag that's worse than red, but it's worse than that. That's unacceptable. Because his wives, I would say, at least Rhaenys was his friend, right? That's probably the only friend he had. Him and Visenya didn't get along super well, but I don't think she got along with anybody very well. Compare that to Robert, dude. He's got bros, man. Dude. Him and Jaime were even on decent terms for a while. But then between Ned Stark, dude, Jon Arryn, he died. He was kind of more of a father figure. But they were still friends. Robert's got the life made for him pretty much.
Well, Robert, when he's hiding out before the Battle of the Bells, he's like hiding in a village from John Connington, who's trying to go around, trying to fight him, right? And Robert's like is being shifted around within the village to like keep him within hiding so that no one finds him. And then that's eventually, I think, one of his bastards is born because he was hiding in some place and he eventually had sex with a woman. Dude, nowhere do I think they say Robert ever, did someone unwillingly. I think all of them were willing, whether it's,
how could they not be?
Whether there's some exchange of currency or not, I don't know. But, I'm saying? Like, yeah, Robert, everyone loves Robert, except for, I guess, Lyanna. Cringe. We're going to do a whole video why we don't like Lyanna.
Her motivation is ridiculous. Like, I don't think he's going to be faithful to me at all. I don't think he can only have one woman. It's like, are you serious? Like, isn't the guy that you like currently married? Like, how stupid can you be, man? That is just unbelievable to me. But
the whole reason I think he kind of loves Lyanna, too, is because I think he looks like his boy. Ned, probably.
Like Ned?
Yeah. He's thinking like, dude, if I could have sex with Ned,
that'd be awesome.
Thank the gods, Ned has a pussy.
Well, listen, this kind of makes sense. It's in line with his later personality traits because with Cersei, he only has sex with her when he's drunk. That's what it's. And then in the show, they go as far as to say Cersei only jerked him off. Like, just gave him hand jobs. You know what I mean? Like, that might be the only thing that could do it for him because, hey, Ned has a hand too. Like, jerk me off, woman. It's like maybe that's the extent of their sex life.
Not bad. It could be worse.
It could be worse.
Yeah, I would curious if anyone listening to this right now, comment down below what did we get wrong here? Because I don't know how you can think that Aegon is a more impressive conqueror of the Seven Kingdoms than Robert, because Robert even got Dorne in there.
Oh yeah, he got Dorne. Dorne was bent over a barrel for Robert. Aegon couldn't even do that. That's kind of shows like how useless these. Aegon comes over to Westeros with his dragons. These are the cheat codes, the game sharks, the action replay codes, whatever you want to say, right? Westeros has absolutely zero experience dealing with these things, and that's the only reason why they even worked. By the time they get to Dorne at least was using their brain. They had how many accounts of like what the incoming threat is going to be, to prep for it. And they come up with a strategy. What are those things called? Like the scorpion bolts or whatever they are, like those giant crossbows, basically. Mm-hmm. That's all it takes. And I listen, man. We read the account. We read the account in the books. It doesn't say that they shot like 10 arrows and luckily one hit. No, they shot one arrow and they just aimed that thing well and it took that dragon down. So that's really all it takes. He got these guys by surprise. If Westeros had, what would you say, like maybe 10 years to prep? Like if they heard somebody's going to come over there and conquer them with dragons, they could probably communicate with Dorne and coordinate, and then Aegon would have failed completely, right? All they have to do is take out 3 dragons.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the Citadel probably could have whipped up something, but they kind of got him on the back foot there, coming over, deciding that you wanted to take over the Seven Kingdoms. Also, yeah, Dorne, it's so unimpressive that you got conquered or at least stunted by this toad woman.
The yellow toad.
Yeah, she's so disgusting, dude. Come on. The more I think about it, there's like, what, they hid inside. Well, what could you do?
I know, that's all it is. And then you get like these
thing.
feats. You get these like quote unquote feats too from Aegon about like, oh dude, Balerion the Black Dread, like his shadow covers entire towns. When he crosses or when he comes over and the sunlight hits him. It's like, is that impressive? A plane does that too. A cargo plane does that. It can't do shit to me. It's just gonna keep on going. Balerion's like old and slow. Even among the Targaryens, in my opinion, Aegon is not that impressive. You can say what you want about Maegor, his son, as a king, but I'd say Maegor was a much more effective. Like, if Maegor was the one doing this conquering, I'd be more impressed by him because I bet there would be greater feats of strategy here. And maybe it wouldn't be, I guess. Maybe it would be just as clean of a sweep. But I think he showed himself to be much more of a hardcore guy. And then when it comes to, well, go ahead. I'll say the second thing. Go ahead.
Well, no, but Maegor does a trial by combat, like Trial of 7. Like, he has 7 versus 7, and I think he's the only one living after that trial, right? But he doesn't jump on his dragon like Aerys II probably would with wildfire, or use fire, excuse me. And then Aegon would probably just jump on his dragon because he doesn't want to get into combat. Maegor at least wants to get in the combat.
Well, right, exactly. He's got the big nuts too. Like, he'll drop him right on the ground, and it's like Piccolo taking off his weighted hat. It's gonna make a big dent in the ground. It was like, holy shit, this guy's for real. He's not even thinking about a dragon right now, even though he also, by the way, has access to the Conqueror's dragon, Balerion. But Jaehaerys is the other one, the successor of Maegor. I'd say he's a much more impressive king too. He really didn't give a shit about dragon combat, and I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong again here, but I'm pretty sure Jaehaerys spent like 10 years of his life on Dragonstone for like 8 hours a day just fighting and getting beaten up, like injured every single day against Kingsguard until he was a master warrior. Like, that's badass, dude. That's way more impressive than anything Aegon did. I'm trying to think of a good comparison to like put a bow on it of how I'd describe Aegon, but I can't think of an exact comparison. Like you said earlier, he's kind of like a dreamer, right? Like this guy who looks off into the distance and like dreams of his own kingdom and whatever, like a child almost. But they kind of mix it in with all this violence, so it just comes off really like pathetic.
Yeah, it's almost like a trust fund baby comes in. He's like, I'm buying everything. All these companies are mine. They're like, wait, what? But we worked so hard, and I built this company up from the ground up. He's like, too bad. I have 3 big credit cards or whatever, bank accounts, and I'm just going to buy you out. And you're like, damn, I guess that does suck. Because
what can I do? What can I do?
Nothing. Yeah, and Robert like goes up against this fucking lunatic Mad King who ends up almost destroying his whole... Like, how are you supposed to approach that guy? He's literally insane.
As we know from Jaime, you approach him from behind.
He was about to blow up all of King's Landing because he was about to flip the table over because he wasn't going to win, So Robert is the Giga Chad. He is the one true greatest warrior within the 7 Kingdoms and all the lore. In my opinion, at least when it comes to Conqueror-wise. Can't think of anybody better. Oh, also, you know what I want to say real quick about Dorne? It reminds me a lot of just like Afghanistan kind of stuff, like the tactics of, we're going to hide in the caves and come back out and just cause acts of terror if you ever, hold us, if you ever occupy us, and there might just be like more stress than it's worth. So that's...
Oh, yeah. Dude, no, but we've said that many times on this channel. We're not fans of Dorne. Dorne is dirty. Dorne is disgusting. House Dane is in Dorne. That's the only place that I respect in that whole... Dude, that's it. Outside of Starfall, man, fuck Dorne, fuck the Martells. My one little sympathy I'll say for House Targaryen here is I do not blame Rhaegar for wanting to get the fuck out of that marriage, even if it's to Lyanna, lame Lyanna. Even if it's to her, I don't care.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and smash that like button.
Or not, we don't care.